What was the most unexpected way your girlfriend rejected your proposal? Elise and I had been together for 3 years and lived together for 1.5. Our relationship was very strong, and we were madly in love. All of our friends always used to say that we were a perfect couple. Our communication was really good, and we had everything planned in our lives. I told her that I wouldn't be marrying her before I got a job that paid well enough to build our family, and she agreed. Well, I got a very good job 2 months ago, and we started planning our lives together. Our plan was to get married in the next year or two, buy a house, and then have kids when we had more financial stability. She also started dropping hints that I should propose. I was already planning to propose, so I started researching rings, proposal venues, etc. This is when I contacted Leah and asked her to meet me and keep it a secret. I told her my plans, and she confirmed that Elise would love this and also gave me some suggestions, which I loved. Leah also included David, as the three of them had been best friends since childhood and knew each other very well. They helped me pick the ring. The plan was to rent a cabin surrounded by nature and wilderness because Elise likes that a lot. I rented the cabin. And on Friday, I took the day off without telling my girlfriend and met up with Leah, David, and one of my friends to set up everything. I gave instructions to my friend about how I wanted everything to be set up. He was supposed to go there the next day before us and set up the flowers, cameras, etc. I went back home after that and ordered Elise's favorite takeout. We talked about her day and then went to bed. A week ago, Leah had invited Elise for brunch on Saturday, my proposal day, at a new fancy place, which was the proposal location. She made sure to pick a fancy place so that Elise wouldn't get suspicious of Leah asking her to wear a nice dress. On Saturday morning, Leah and David came to our apartment to pick up Elise. As soon as they left, I called a friend of mine who was waiting just around the corner, and I left soon after. Then I called my other friend, who was supposed to be at the cabin, and asked him how everything was going. He assured me that everything was set up exactly how I wanted it. I had also asked David to share their location and to drive slowly or take a longer route so that I could get there 10 to 15 minutes before them. I realized David hadn't shared the location, but it was fine. We got there, and I just ran in to change into a suit. Then I went to the exact position and checked the camera angles. Everything was perfect. Then I waited for my girlfriend and her friends to arrive. The drive is 30 to 40 minutes from our apartment, and they should have been there. I thought they went slightly overboard with stalling. I waited there for another 20 minutes. It had already been more than an hour since they left the apartment, and I was getting worried, so I asked one of my friends to call David and sneakily ask how long it'd take them. They called him 2 to 3 times, but there was no answer. Then they called Leah 2 to 3 times. No answer. I assumed the worst. I called David and Leah as well. Still no answer. Finally, I decided to call Elise. On the first call, she didn't answer. My heart was racing at this point. As soon as I called her again, Leah answered instead. I was panicking and asked her if everything was alright and why nobody was answering the phone. She went silent for 2 seconds and then started yelling at me. She told me to never call Elise again and that I was dead to her. I was a horrible human being for doing that to her. She doesn't want to see my face or talk to me ever again. I was confused. But before I could say anything, she hung up. I was so confused and started crying, and my friends had to console me. Soon after that, I got a text from Leah saying that she'll be coming over later with David to get Elise's stuff and that Elise doesn't even want to step into the apartment even if I'm not there. I immediately called her parents to ask what was going on. They knew about the proposal, and we were supposed to go to their home for lunch after. They had no clue what was going on and told me that they'd call her and ask. I got a call from them 10 minutes later saying that they called Elise, and she told them that she couldn't talk right now and she'd call them later. They were also confused about all this. I was devastated, and I didn't know what to do. My friends took me back to my apartment, and we hung out. David and Leah came over in the evening to take Elise's stuff. My friends and I tried to talk to them, but they didn't say anything. They just asked me where Elise's stuff was and just took some of it and said they'd be back for the rest. They also reiterated that if I tried contacting Elise again, I'd be reported for harassment. At that moment, I just wanted to cry because the thought of me harassing my girlfriend was overwhelming. After they left, my friends told me that they thought I shouldn't be alone right now and that they were staying the night and wouldn't take no for an answer. We stayed up and talked till 4 a.m. last night, and then everyone went to bed. I wasn't able to sleep, and I've been just thinking about every potential reason for Elise's behavior, but I don't have any answers. The only scenario I can think of is that Elise was cheating on me, and somehow she realized I was going to propose, and she freaked out and told her friends that she couldn't do this because I cheated on her. This still doesn't make sense, but it's the closest thing to an explanation I have right now. I know it's a horrible thing to think about. Today was supposed to be the first day of our engaged life together. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some answers from her parents if they talk to her. My hypocrite daughter wanted her stepdad to walk her down the aisle instead of me. But she took it back real quick when I refused to pay for the wedding. When my daughter was 12, her mother cheated on me and married the man she cheated with. I hated my ex-wife with a passion at that time and wanted to get as far as away from her, but I didn't. I wanted my daughter to grow up in a normal environment and not surrounded by hate everywhere. So I split custody with my ex-wife and made sure that our daughter's mental health wouldn't be affected. We never told her about the cheating as a way to protect her. My ex's new husband quickly became her stepdad, and I didn't have a problem with it. Whenever my daughter would come back after spending time at their house, I would just be happy that she had fun. She would tell me how fun her new stepdad was and that she loved him, which was cute in my opinion. I still had to work a lot of hours, but I made sure to spend proper time with her. For her 17th birthday, I chipped in with her mom and got her a new car. I do make more money than she and her husband, so I paid more than her, but it wasn't a big deal. She absolutely loved it and thanked her for it. I thought it was a bit weird that she didn't offer me a thank you even though we had both paid for it, but I didn't dwell on it. After she turned 18, she began spending more and more time at her mom's house. But I was confident in the way I had raised her and trusted her to make her own, adult decisions. As a result, she got a lot of independence from my side and basically did what she wanted. I didn't maintain friendly contact with her mom outside of what my daughter was doing, so I don't know how she spent her time there. But little did I know, I was allowing my ex-wife to steal my daughter away. Anyway, I helped her get into the best college in our city and fully paid her tuition so she wouldn't have to get a job. That way, she could focus on her academics or whatever it was that she wanted to do in life. Looking back, there was once again a lack of gratitude from her side, but I never asked for a thanks. I did what I did because I wanted to. She is 26 now, living in her own house, and was just proposed to by the love of her life, whom she luckily met in college. I was so happy for her and called her to congratulate her. During that call, I also offered to pay for her wedding because it was going to be her special day. I knew her now fiancé was a good man, and would take good care of her. So I wanted to give her away in style. She was very excited to hear that and said that I just made her even more happy. She began planning a destination wedding in Italy with the large budget that I had provided. But then, a couple days later, she called me to tell me the worst news of my life. She wanted her stepdad to walk her down the aisle instead of me. I obviously didn't agree to it and asked her why. I loved her a lot and wanted to do this for her, and she had absolutely no reason to walk with another man. But she began telling me that it's not a big deal, and that it's just something he wants to do. I said that I also want to do it, and that I also have the right to do it since I'm her actual father. She began screaming at me, telling me to calm down even though I didn't even raise my voice. She said that it was her choice and she had decided on her stepdad, and that I didn't have a say in it. I didn't hear anything after that because my mind had shut down. I just put the phone down and desperately tried to hold my tears back. I have no idea why she would do this. I gave her everything and made sure she was happy and never neglected. Heck, I even kept in contact with the woman who broke my heart. I got texts from my ex-wife calling me a horrible person, and that I was ruining my daughter's wedding by making unreasonable demands. I screenshotted it and sent it to my daughter, thinking that she would apologize for what her mother had said. But to my shock, she agreed with that statement, and that I should leave her alone. So, in her mind, me asking to be her dad was an unreasonable demand. After a few more hours of crying, my eyes had really opened and I had come to a decision. I decided that I would no longer be paying for the wedding. I knew that they would not be able to afford a destination wedding without my support, but I didn't care. My daughter didn't seem to want me there at all, so why would I pay for something that I can't even attend? But after I sent that text, my phone began blowing up. My ex was suddenly very apologetic about her behavior. My daughter began saying she didn't mean what she said, and that it was all a joke. She said that of course I can walk her down the aisle, if I agree to still pay for my wedding in Italy. However, I just texted her this: "Don't worry, I don't want to buy your love with money. I will leave you alone just like you wanted." That was the last message I sent to her, and a few weeks passed by. Of course, she and her mother kept texting me, saying that I am a horrible person for backing out of paying like that. Some texts made me laugh though, so I never blocked them. They even got other family members and friends to text me and ask me to take back my words, but I ignored everyone. And today, I finally replied to my daughter's countless texts. I uploaded a selfie on Instagram with my new yacht in Monaco, with the caption, "Oops, all the wedding budget was blown on this baby. Guess I'm not invited anymore."
People who lost hundreds of pounds. How did you do it? I went from being a cheerleader to 300 pounds. Now, I'm down to 180 and I barely have to lift a finger as the pounds keep dropping. My war with my body began the week before my 21st birthday when I was paralyzed from the waist down by a drunk driver. It ruined my life. I went from being a tri-sport athlete to a cripple, a happy girl with a bright future to a source of pity. In those first years when I was wheelchair-bound, my entire life centered around my newfound disability. I dropped out of college, gave up on my nursing degree, and fell into a long spell of depression. This period lasted 2 years, but it was enough for me to gain over 100 pounds, which I wouldn't be able to lose for a long time. Even when I finally came out of my depression, being in a wheelchair made it impossible for me to change my sedentary lifestyle and lose any weight. If anything, I got heavier. By the time I was 30, I weighed almost 300 pounds. It wasn't all bad though, as those years helped me find an extremely loving husband who became the light of my life. However, my weight remained a constant emotional drain. I felt ashamed to look at myself in the mirror. I avoided family photos, always trying to be the one to take the photo so that no one could immortalize my shame in a family album, and it got so bad that I bought a matte screen protector for my phone so that I couldn't even accidentally catch my own fat face staring back at me. The only way I could cope with my weight was to ignore it, but I would soon come to regret this decision, especially after discovering just how effortless it would be for me to undo all my troubles, if only I put the effort into figuring out how. When my husband and I finally decided we were ready to have kids, I was initially elated because my doctor said that paralyzed women like me can still get pregnant and have children with minimal extra risks, but my hopes fell when I learned that my obesity meant that my husband and I would probably be unable to conceive. We tried anyway, and my doctor wound up being right, and so I fell into another long spell of depression that raised my weight to 310 pounds. I felt like Jabba the Hutt. Fortunately for me, there was a light at the end of the tunnel this time. I didn't know anything yet, but my husband and mother-in-law were about to change my life, I just had to be patient. My husband said that he and I were going to go on a health journey together and that we were going to hold each other accountable, so I wasn't alone in this. We threw out all the junk food and started meal prepping together constantly. Our relationship improved as we started actually cooking every single meal at home and together, and it was really wonderful to spend quality time with the love of my life in such a consistent way. Unfortunately, it was still too much for me. I cracked one day when I thought my husband wasn't looking and ordered a massive Oreo cake from Walmart. I planned to devour the whole thing that very night, but my husband caught me as I was eating it in our walk-in supply closet, hiding in the depths of our house like a criminal. We had the biggest fight of our lives that night, and although it was the lowest I'd ever been, it changed my life for the better completely, because just hours after having this screaming match with my husband, telling him he didn't care about me, shouting that he couldn't understand what it felt like to be so broken and hideous, I had a stroke. It was terrifying, but it was also the most important experience in my life. When I woke up in the hospital, my first thought was that I truly needed to fix things, in a sustainable way. I was horrified to realize that I could so easily lose my life just because I couldn't lose some weight. My doctor sat me down to have a talk with me about it, but he didn't even need to say it. I was finally determined to do it and be consistent this time. I felt a drive I'd never felt before because this time, I had a reason. I wanted to get to a healthy weight so I could minimize my chances of ever having a stroke again, and most importantly, I was terrified of compromising my marriage any further. My husband and I sat down one more time and talked, but this time, he told me he had an idea. I had already talked with my doctor before about trying pills and external health supplements, but I'd never gone through with anything because I felt that pills were like plastic surgery, that if I resorted to them, then I wouldn't be authentic anymore. But my husband bluntly told me that my life was pushed off its authentic path the day that drunk driver crashed into my car. So, I went through with it. My husband and I decided to go with some AV pills because my husband's mom had used them before, which was where he even got the idea, and it worked wonders for her. I actually ended up taking a higher elite dose than her since she was literally half my size. It was this black and pink bottle, but I still wasn't sure if anything would change. But after years of fighting against my disability, fighting against the fact that I was in a losing battle, I figured that the worst thing the pills could do was nothing. My doctor gave me the green light and I started taking them. It was that, or brace myself for an inevitable gastric bypass surgery. You could take up to 4 pills per day, so that's what I did. By the end of the first month I had lost 8 pounds. It might sound small, but anyone who has ever tried to lose weight knows that 8 pounds in a single month is intense, especially given that I was still adjusting to a healthier diet without fully restricting my favorite snacks. In the second month, the pills seemed to have adapted better to my system because I lost 11 pounds, which was crazy. For the first time in ages, my weight finally had a 2 in front of it again, and seeing that change lit a spark under me. I suddenly felt like weight loss was actually possible, and abruptly, it became easier to resist the urge to snack. I replaced soda with diet soda, and drank that until I was finally drinking 8 glasses of water every day. And up until this point, I'd seen the number on the scale go down but had yet to witness any visual changes in my body. But as the months wore on, I kept losing weight. Between my healthier diet and my daily dose of AV, I continued to lose an average of 10 pounds per month. I weighed myself daily and only hit one plateau when I reached 240 pounds, but I persevered through it until even those numbers started to fall. And finally, I started to feel younger again. I started to train my arms and upper body to keep my torso somewhat active and found a gym regimen that works for me, even though I can only do light, stretch-based exercises to avoid risk of injury. Better yet, my relationship with my husband completely transformed. We went from years of friction and arguments to being intensely appreciative of each other, with my husband reminding me every morning how proud he is of me for actually managing to lose my weight and me thanking him for supporting me through it all. It took over a year, but I'm finally at 180 pounds now. It's heavier than when I was an athlete, but I'm not trying to go back to those days. I just want to be healthy and happy. I even stopped taking the Elite AV pills because I didn't need them anymore, but my body has barely noticed a difference. If anything, I'm still slimming down now that my health habits are actually better. My doctor is astounded that I was able to lose so much weight, especially after years and years of me not doing anything about it. I've even started picking up wheelchair table tennis. There are obviously still things I dislike about my body, from the way my skin sometimes sags and how I'll always have stretch marks from being so big. But I finally feel safe, secure, and ready to start my own family, because yes, as of last week, I am officially pregnant, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. Edit. Guys, please stop telling me to name my child any derivative of AV. Yes, I love them for their help, but I think I'd name my baby girl after a dish soap before naming her after a weight loss supplement. Thanks for platinum though.